Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. So in this video I wanted to talk about multiclassing for those of you who don't know what it is, and even for some of our veteran players, should you do it? And also too, while I make this video, you guys know I do a lot of art stuff. The visuals for this video are going to be brought to you by a Draw This in Your Style challenge by Fedemexi Art. More about that in the description, please check them out, they're a very talented artist. And anyways, to the video itself. What is multiclassing? Simply put, it is the action of combining your character's class and then mixing it with another class. For example, in the context of D&D, let's say you start off playing a fighter, and then you're looking over at one of your friends who has been using magic the entire campaign, and fighters, as a martial, typically don't have a lot of magic to their name. And then you decide, hey, maybe I'm going to multiclass into something that would give me a little bit more magic and utility. So you take a few levels of wizard just to get your spellbook, and then, also get ritual spells and just some general spell casting abilities. That's a basics of how multiclassing works. As long as you meet the requirements of being able to multiclass into or out of a class, you can add it to your character. But for some of you who are newer to D&D and maybe newer to the channel, you might be wondering, Smiles, why would multiclassing be something I should wonder if I should do? Isn't it good? Wouldn't it be encouraged? Mostly. In my opinion, multiclassing is something that you sometimes should do. When it comes to multiclassing, you can really bring a character to life. It's this subtle influence of the world and the direction that character takes within the world that reflects the multiclass, like our example before with the fighter and the wizard. You started off intending that they would just be a fighter, but slowly throughout the course of their adventures, they learned more, they experienced more, and suddenly they're changing their path, however slightly. So in my opinion, when it comes to multiclassing, if it's something that's brought about by the story, it can be a very cool element for your characters. Because even too, as a DM, you want to see characters interacting with your world. You want to make a multiclass that makes sense. And this is going to be a segue into the next point, so just bear with me. But for many of us, we've all seen the memes about people bringing in their absolutely ludicrous multiclass build, where it seems like it's combined from a bunch of different classes and subclasses that really have no business being together. Like, yeah, I'm a Fey Wanderer, Ranger, Fiend Warlock, Divine Soul Sorcerer, because I was born from this god, and then I got corrupted by this demon, and now I sold my soul to an archfey to try to cleanse myself of that weird demon. Sometimes multiclassing can very well be a bit too much. And this is something, too, that you don't just experience with the story and the lore for that character, but this is also, too, something that you can very much experience mechanically, and something that I'm very guilty of on this channel. When it comes to multiclassing, a lot of the times people don't always multiclass for the sole purpose of adding embellishments or flares to your character. Sometimes people multiclass for the sole purpose of being an absolute menace to every table that they come across. And for a lot of the people that have been following me for a while, because honestly at this point the channel's like almost a year old. But yeah, for those of you who've been on the channel for a while, know that I am one to create some very absurd D&D builds. I've made some very dumb things in my time. Things that should never, ever see the light of a game table. And I've brought this up a number of times in these videos where it's like, hey, please don't actually use the things that I said for this build at a table. People will hate you for this, because they're ridiculous. And that's something to keep in mind with multiclassing is, don't make things that are incredibly ridiculous, because there's a very high chance that it will disrupt the normalcy of the campaign. Now, of course, if you're having a campaign where, all bets are off and the DM has explicitly stated, yeah, I don't really care what goes on in this campaign, you guys are free to do and build whatever you want, then full send it. Binge watch a lot of my old videos on the D&D builds and just bring all that ludicrousy to town. But for the DMs that care, for the players that care, sometimes creating a very absurd build can be very disruptive to your table. And one of the big reasons why is it is something that completely disrupts power balance. You see, typically, most DMs will try to go and balance their encounters around the current levels of the party. And this is part of another challenge too with the challenge rating system. Sometimes you as a DM will try to pit things against the players that you feel like are really going to give them a challenge. Really make them feel like the hero is overcoming challenges and obstacles on their way to solving this greater problem in the story. Then you get this one guy in a corner who's basically God modded, thinks like he's God modded, and carries out his actions like he is in fact God modded. You don't know what I'm talking about? For example, I've created builds on this channel that let you roll 60 or higher for certain skill checks. I've created certain builds that let you do nuclear level damage in a single round. These sorts of things can be very disruptive to balancing, and it can be something that very much so stresses out your DM as well. So don't get me wrong, some of the elements of multiclassing can be really interesting. You can build your character in a certain way where, yes, by taking on another class, you do become greater than the sum of your parts. And two, it also has this really cool lore implication surrounding why you made these additions to your character. These things are really cool, and I'm not saying don't multiclass, but I'm trying to say multiclass within reason. There's a lot of really cool builds that you can make in the game, and they can really make you as a player feel powerful, while also not completely sucking the fun from everyone else at the table. And I definitely invite you to check out some of these, but the most important thing overall is just making sure that you are having fun, and also making sure that you're not really squandering or squishing the fun of other people. It's tricky because a lot of people say, oh, well, I want to play a certain way, but then of course if you're playing like a jerk, other people aren't going to want to play with you. Then you have to suffer the consequences of that. So everything in balance, everything in moderation. Multiclassing is great, yes, but just make sure that it fits with what's going on around you. Make sure it fits within your character, make sure it fits within your campaign, and make sure too, it's okayed by the DM. Because at the end of the day, if the DM says no, that is kind of how it goes. So regardless, I hope you enjoyed this very mild advice video. And while I think part of this video was very much so talking about, hey, maybe you shouldn't multiclass, I still do invite you to check out multiclassing. It's something that can definitely add a lot of extra fun to character building, but once again, just balance. But regardless though, that is all the time that I have for today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and also too, please check out Fedemexi art as well, more in the description. Maybe I'll be doing more Draw This in Your Style challenges with the art that I'm doing for the channel. So yeah, just keep that in mind. But anyways though, in the meantime, keep smiling, keep scheming, and I'll see all of you next time.